Excellent. So I'll hand over to Matt to take us through financial wellbeing.
Can you all see that? Can you just somebody wave or say hello?
Perfect.
Yeah, fantastic, great. Okie dokie. Yes. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on financial wellbeing. So yeah, I'm just going to talk through a few bits today. So won't be much in here about responsible investing, really. It's going to be more about sort of planning and what you should be doing. And some of it, I think I've sorted out all my wording in my notes around COVID, but some of it may refer, because I wrote this during COVID, so I've tried to sort of update it a bit, but we'll see how we go. So having good financial well-being is massively important to everyone. So after all, financial problems can lead to poor mental well-being, with the worry, stress and sleeplessness that they can cause, and vice versa, really. So if you're suffering from poor mental well-being, finances are usually the last thing on the list, but getting out of control can compound the problems we might otherwise be facing. So it's important to have control over our finances and to have some kind of financial plan in place. So before I talk any further, just important to confirm that the presentation and the information is correct as of now, and relates to the 2021-2022 tax year as well, for any sort of references around things like that. So so we're going to look at financial wellbeing, how we can all help ourselves by taking control. We'll take a look at a few different subject areas: taking control, borrowing, saving, pensions, and of course where to go if you do need any help, if finances do get out of control. Hopefully this might help you all, and there'll be time for some questions at the end as well, but feel free if there's anything that crops up and you want to sort of get me on it while I'm going through, feel free. So it's important to have a grasp over our finances and understand where our money goes. In practice, what's changed during and since lockdown? First bit I'm going to look at is money management and what's changed. I just want to underline that our habits have changed with lockdowns and their subsequent easings, and really we need to make sure we're in control of our finances. So how do we currently look after our money, and what has changed in 2021 and so far in 2020, 2021, crikey, I can't believe we're at the end of 2021. So some big things that have changed for me in particular. Many people like myself, for the large part, are still working from home. So you saw in the first slide there, I was in my shirt and tie. Now I spend most of my day wearing things like this and not really dressing up but unless I'm going to see a new client, then I do tend to dress up a little bit. But for people like yourselves who already know me, I come a bit more laid back nowadays, and we're not popping into coffee shops as regularly as we used to, going out for lunch on lunch breaks, and we're making a cup of tea at home in our own kitchen, and the cost is dramatically different. I mean, what's the average cost of a coffee from Starbucks? Sometimes what, £3 plus, and you make it yourself, it's 5p maximum, I would say. And we're not socializing as much either, I don't think, and a lot of people really haven't gone out and do as much as they used to. There's still quite a lot of trepidation out there, and I've noticed myself that places just aren't as busy as they were previously, or certainly they weren't. They might be changing a bit now, but our habits seem to have changed. Perhaps we've signed up to a streaming service, and probably already got through a lot of the content like myself. So I was scrolling through Netflix last night thinking, well, I've already watched most of these things, so what can I watch now? But yeah, and holidays have been different as well. So there's a lot of travel uncertainty still. Things are coming onto the red list again, and people are staycationing rather than going on foreign holidays. So our budgets have evolved really, and the pandemic's changed things really. So some people are better off as well. Some people are worse off, but we don't really know how we stand until we account for these things and adjust our budget to look at the money coming in and going out. And we simply need to make sure we know where the changes are being made, so we can start to account for the change in the amount of money that we might have. So there's 3 simple questions which we should all ask ourselves every day when we're spending. Quite simply, do I need it? Can I afford it? And can I get it cheaper? So we should use these questions whenever we think about making a purchase, whether that's food from the supermarket or bigger purchases such as phones, cars and holidays. And for some items, if you don't do the 3-point check until you get home, keep the receipt and take it back. Quite simple, really. Now, I've always been one for a bargain, and do love sites like Top Cashback and Quidco, and been using them for quite a long time. So How these sites work, if you don't know about them, they essentially pay you a cash reward when you click through from them and buy goods or financial products. So websites like Quidco and Top Cashback offer cashback on a variety of goods and services, from mobile phones to car insurance, from bank accounts to broadband. And basically, you can also earn cash back on high street purchases via the apps as well that they have. So Quidco have a Click Snap app, and Top Cashback have a Checkout Smart app, which basically lists loads of different deals that you can get in supermarkets. And what you do there is you basically scan your receipt when you get home, or take a photo of the product, and then you can claim the money back for it, or a percentage of it. So there's lots of money to sort of be saved that way. Hot UK Deals is another one I've used regularly as well. So I always look out for vouchers when I'm buying things online, see if there's a code going to get it cheaper. So I really do like to save a bit of money whenever I can. And it really can pay just to take a few minutes to see if there's any bargains out there to be had. And personally, I've saved literally thousands of pounds over my working life. On Quidco, I've saved over £2,000. I think I started doing it about 7 or 8 years ago. And that you're essentially getting the money that would have been going to Google or the bigger search engines, because they pay it to you, or a percentage of it to you. So it can pay to do a bit of research before you go and make a purchase. So moving on, it's a good idea, whilst writing a budget, to think about where you're going and what you'll need to get there. So we need to split up our short-term, medium-term and long-term goals. Many of us simply move from month to month without having any long-term objectives for our money. So take some time to think about what's important to you, whether it's clearing debt, or looking forward to your next holiday, to buying a home, or looking forward to a comfortable retirement. And we've all got different things that are important to us and may take priority. So once we know what we want, then we need to find a way of paying for them and set aside a portion of our monthly budget. So a budget is essential for telling you where your money's for telling you your money where to go, instead of wondering where all your money went. And I've been in that position where I'm wondering, where's my money gone? But I think budgeting is a key sort of powerful tool for doing that. How many of us are guilty for buying something we don't need, using money we don't have, and certainly an economic downturn like the one we've had? One of our management of money is our management. It will change. This is going to be a big thing that sort of changes going forward, I think, because people's spending habits have changed. Now, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much money you earn. If you don't have any plan in place, then you're unable to plan ahead. So all it takes is a spreadsheet or a budgeting app, and you can start to take control. A budget is becoming essential for our financial lives, as borrowing decisions are based on our ability to repay, as Jay will be able to tell you. And I've recently gone through a mortgage application with the vegan mortgage advisor, Dan. So I know things of how much work is involved in these sort of things. And if you don't have a plan or an idea of where your money's going, it can make it really difficult for these sort of things. It's not about covering bills and what's left is our spending money. We need to allocate a budget for everything, from rent to mortgages through to food, clothing and other essentials. And we're all still looking forward, I think, to a time when normality properly comes back. But will it ever come back like it used to before? Is this the new normal? I just don't know really yet. Having control of our money is an essential step to creating financial security or working out where we stand. So what's left at the end of your financial month? Well, if it's nothing or very little, perhaps it would be a good idea for you to find out just where your money is going. So I've put a brief example here of what a basic budget might look like, including things such as rent and mortgages, monthly bills, travel costs. And I'm using tax rates in the example, which excludes Scotland. So if any of you are up in Scotland, that's slightly different to the rest of the income tax rates in the UK, but very little difference in practice. And here you can see immediately that if we can make a significant saving on socialising with some of the measures out there and people's trepidation, that creates an additional amount which you can allocate towards potentially reducing debt or starting the saving journey. Putting that aside could help you plan for your future financial needs. Now, I don't have £400 a month myself for socialising, but hey, this is just an example. And if your budget is still running close or near to a deficit, speak to your lenders or landlords, because there are things you can do, and we're still going through a strange time. So there's a lot of help and support out there. But you won't get help unless you ask for it. and you don't know what areas of your budget to change until you write them down, I think is the key thing. So if we break that down into money, where your money has been spent, most of us will see that our biggest outgoings are accommodation, utility bills, and socialising probably. Now we may find that we have reduced income, so quite simply we have to reduce our expenditure to match. Are we on the lowest tariff for our utilities? You can easily check by using sites such as USwitch in the UK to check what you're paying. I know it's a bit of a strange time at the minute for that, but it's still worthwhile having a look. And of course, you can save on your socialising budget. So that needs to go back to your budget to look at where you can reallocate that potentially. Rents and mortgages are one area where if you start a conversation with mortgage lenders or landlords, there are the potential things you can do there for reducing your outgoings. Groceries and food costs can easily go up, but try to set aside a budget and manage the amount you can consume in. Also, cooking and creating your own meals is often cheaper and better for you than buying pre-packaged stuff, and it can dramatically reduce your weekly shopping list. But overall, in this example, you see that this budget has a surplus of £238.51p. But what should you use the surplus for? More food, hoarding canned goods, toilet roll in case we go into another lockdown? Or could we help it save more towards our future? Everyone should at least have an emergency fund and something that we should call on if of unexpected bills and outgoing. And that £238 a month really could help to build up a reserve. And I think never was it more important last year. We saw when we went into the lockdowns that a lot more people were sort of relying on money they'd built up when there was all the uncertainty around furlough and all these other things. So even then, sometimes it wasn't enough for people, but it's always good to have some money in the background just to help out. So you could also have, for example, if you were looking at buying a house, so getting onto the property ladder, property prices are still sky high. But for example, if you said, I've had clients say to me, well, I want to buy a house in 3 years' time, but they haven't really thought about how they're going to get there. And say your house is going to be, what, £200,000. Ideally, you probably need a 10% deposit for that. So to get a decent rate, otherwise you'll be paying really, really high interest rates. So that's a £20,000 deposit. So if you break that down monthly, you're going to need to save £555 per month. You could use a bit of that excess towards it, make a few cutbacks somewhere. So socialising, if you've got your £400 you spend on socialising, you could cut back a bit of that. And maybe you've got your £555 a month, you could be saving towards your house purchase. It's thinking back to those three simple questions. Do you need it? Can you afford it? And can you get it cheaper? And how much do you want to achieve those medium and long-term goals? That's where the real planning and budgeting is such a powerful tool, and where I really sort of enjoy getting down to the nitty-gritty with clients and discussing where they want to get to. I always start with the end goal, and then we sort of build a plan around it. So let's move on from looking at our day-to-day money to think about more protecting our money. So we also need to think about our current position when we're thinking about our financial goals. Is now the right time to change our goals, pay off a few debts? If with more money, do we want to overpay on a mortgage, clear a credit card? Or if we're worse off, do we want to think about taking a break from some of those debts? Do you have an emergency fund? So an emergency fund isn't borrowing. So it isn't a credit card or an overdraft. It's money held in savings to cover unexpected costs. So for those of you who have, excellent. Having an emergency fund gives us financial peace of mind and allows us to start planning for bigger financial commitments we have. And if you haven't, don't worry, you're not alone. Hopefully we can help you think about making some arrangements between now and the end of the webinar. So stop procrastinating. It's roll your sleeves up and get on with the boring, mundane, monthly money management stuff and see if you can better your situation. There's loads of things you can be doing, but I'm just going to pick out a few headline financially important tasks to help keep us active, really. First on the boring jobs is to manage debt. You need to keep your borrowing under control. Of course, the first stage of getting borrowing under control is to work out what you have, who it's with, and what interest rate you're paying on to borrow the money. Then consider, could you take the debt to the highest annual, could you take the debt with the highest annual percentage rate, the most expensive one, and find a way of borrowing at a lower rate. So generally, the higher the percentage rate, the more you'll end up paying. So always look to see if you can reduce your rate and save yourself some money. And there's lots of ways to do that. You can shop around, look online, or speak to a professional. Another boring job on the to-do list is to regularly shop around for utilities. Now, not a great time to talk about this at the minute because prices are crazy with the gas prices. So it's likely to be a great time to obtain a good value fixed contract on your gas and electric, but it's worth keeping an eye on for the future when the gas prices start to settle a little. Many people simply don't look around for their energy rates, and they find themselves on a standard rate, or fixing like at the moment is not a great idea because you could be fixing yourself on a really high rate that could drop again in a few months. So it could be really expensive and could cost you hundreds of pounds more every year than if you were to review the market. So it is really easy to switch. There's a number of dedicated sites. So uswitch.com, Money Savings Expert site, for example, give great examples of that. And as with everything, like myself, I'm a financial advisor. I advise on lots of different things. There are energy brokers out there as well that you could go and have a chat with. And it could save you tens or even hundreds of pounds a year. So when we're back out of this all again, go and have a look. Another job on the list is to look at your credit score. When was the last time you had a look at your own credit file and took a look at it? I recently looked at mine when I was going through my mortgage application and found something on there that shouldn't have been on there. So it was a missed payment. I've never missed a payment. It was down to the lender. They put something wrong on there. So that can impact a credit score. And if you're looking for something like a mortgage, it can have a big impact on you. So it only takes 5 minutes of your time to do it. And there's lots of sites out there that give you free trials or free access altogether. So checkmilefile.com is one I use recently. It gives you a free 30-day trial of all of Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, Crediva, and there's lots of them that are free for life as well. So anyone can check their credit file online at any time, and usually it's free to check it. So checking your credit score yourself doesn't affect the score, but if a lender checks your credit score, it might affect it. So like myself, if I hadn't checked it and saw that error on there, then that could have had an impact on the mortgage that I was going for. So check it and have a look and make sure everything's okay on there. And there's nothing that shouldn't be on there. Either way, when you look at your credit report, you'll see something called an inquiry, which confirms that you or someone else has looked at it, but don't worry too much about that. And your credit report is split into two sections. Firstly, you have your score, and it should be pretty clear if you've a good, average, or poor credit score when you check. And you have a credit report, which is a list of all the products or services you have as well on there. So, and that will show everything you've got in your financial armory, really. And that's the report is the most important part to check, as you need to make sure something incorrect isn't affecting your credit score. And if you're a victim of any financial crime as well, because that can happen, that's been a big thing during the pandemic. And that's one of the first places where it will show up. So I advise you all to go and have a look at that. So next bit I'm going to look at is avoiding being a victim of financial crime. So first of all, it is very easy to become a victim of a scam or fraud. And I nearly got hoodwinked into it myself the other day. I had an email from a client that looked like it was something that I should be opening. And I messaged him first to say, is this, what's this you sent me? And he said, no, it's somebody got into his email and sent something. So didn't open that file because it could have been a virus that had gone on my system, but they're quite common out there, as Mark will probably attest to as well. And the current events of the world, coronavirus, people are skeptical about all sorts. So I think a lot of people and a lot of scammers are using it as an opportunity to take advantage of fears and insecurities. And you may have already read numerous reports around that last year there's fake hand sanitizer, non-existent face masks being sold, fake charities being set up. All of those things are directly linked to the coronavirus outbreak. So lots of things going on. So I'll take a quick look at some of the general scams and frauds which are taking place at the minute, and where you can go for help if you find that you are a victim of a scam or fraud. And secondly, look at specifically at financial related crimes around pension and investment scams. There's a very general rule with financial related crimes and pretty much everything in life, I think. If it looks too good to be true, then it probably is. And there's no quick wins or secret investments which create stellar returns overnight. Investments are generally designed to create returns over a long period of time. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the most common scams in place at the moment. So essentially, anything that directly relates to the UK's current affairs or current social situations are open to scammers and fraudsters. It goes without saying that at this time we're most concerned with hygiene and helping others. So always be aware of scams surrounding items such as face masks, hand wash, and charitable donations. It's worth noting that all registered UK charities are listed on a register provided by the government, and you can find and check charities on gov.uk. So if you're approached by a charity and you've never supported them before, it's worth checking that they are who they say they are before you part with any of your money. Other areas where scams are occurring include online shopping special offers. So I know I mentioned them websites before, but there's lots of other sort of fake websites out there. So always be sort of cautious with these, and fake auction sites. If you plan to purchase goods and services from someone you've never bought anything from before, then you do need to do a little bit of research and try to establish that the seller is genuine and based in the UK. Perhaps you could ask a family member or friend to look after you, to look over your purchase before you commit to anything, just to see if they can spot if it's a scam, or ask someone like myself or any of the people in this group if you're will sort of lend a hand if you're unsure of anything. And if you've made any online purchases and you suspect you've been a victim, speak to your bank or your credit card provider in the first instance, as they can help out as well. And they could essentially potentially investigate the crime, make sure there's no further funds that are taken out of your account or your card. A lot of financial distress, I think, still for people will now come out of furlough, and there's a lot of uncertainty again. Scammers and fraudsters come up with fake loans and financial support packages out there. So one quick giveaway with these scams is that often the fake lender will ask for an upfront payment or a front fee for their services, and that's most likely to be fake. So never provide your personal details in response to an email or a phone call claiming to offer these kind of services. All financial service firms, including lending or deposit taking, are required to be registered with the Financial or Conduct Authority. So a quick check on the FCA website and their register should confirm if an organisation is genuine. So always look them up and be cautious of people. The National Crime Agency, some excellent advice to help protect ourselves from all sorts of scams and fraudulent transactions. They correctly point out that criminals will go through great lengths to researchers and capitalise on our financial position, trying their best to steal our personal information and our money. In order to prevent as many of these attempts as possible from succeeding, we should all have a 3-point check in place. Step 1 is stop. Take a moment and stop and think before parting with your money. It'll probably help keep you safe. Step 2 is to challenge what you're being offered or what you're seeing. It's okay to reject offers or approaches, or reject any requests made of you. Only criminals will persist attempting to rush or panic you. Genuine retailers or financial institutions won't pressure you into any urgent action. And step 3 is to protect yourself. If you've made a mistake, contact your bank immediately. It does happen. I worked in banks for 13 years of my life, and it's not always too late. If you've made an error, that there are things we can do, but just speak to someone. Don't bury your head in the sand with it. Contact them immediately. Stop or investigate any funds that have been drawn from your account. And you can also get help and advice through Action Fraud, which services set up to help protect ourselves against and report fraud, scams, and financial crimes. And the Action Fraud details are on the screen there. So it's got the website and the telephone number if you need any help or support. So moving on from general scams and day-to-day attempts to defraud us, the bigger prize for criminals is to gain access to our hard-earned savings and investments. So again, I've heard even from my own clients during the last 18 months or so that there are people out there telling them they can get money access to the pensions before they can, or offer them some lucrative investment sort of Ponzi scheme that's going to make them loads of money, because people are worried about the finances and they think this is an opportunity, and it can be an opportunity, but it's you should still be cautious with these sort of things and protect your family's future, your own financial future. Anyone can be a victim of financial scam, no matter how clever or savvy you think you are. Again, we should look at things presented to us objectively and say it again. If something looks too good to be true, it probably is. If we've more awareness of how scams take place, then we can hopefully protect ourselves from being a victim of pension investment fraud. So let's take a look at how criminals try to steal our pensions and investments. So generally, scammers and fraudsters try to persuade their victims to release pension or investment monies by making attractive sounding promises that are quite simply too good to be true, and when they have no intentions of keeping. So some things to look out for listed here are investments in overseas property, renewable energy, fine arts, expensive wines, storage and parking scams, as well as wider fake investments in things such as forestry or agricultural projects, including land ownership. The essential warning signs to spot are mostly contained in the confusing language that fraudsters like to use. So here you can see some of the key phrases that are designed to sort of to confuse you or add weight to the fictitious investment schemes that they're creating. You should also be aware of anyone who claims that they can create better returns than pension savings. Anyone who uses high pressure sales tactics to get you to sign up. Anyone selling financial products with a very limited time offer, or anyone claiming investment is high risk overseas investments. These sort of things should all raise warning flags in your mind to get you to question what you're being offered, really. And just to confirm, you can't access your pension funds before age 55. So 55, you can't get access to it before. Anyone who claims you can grant you access to pension funds through something called pension liberation may well charge hugely excessive fees, and you'll face an investigation by HMRC, leading to a very high tax bill. Therefore, you won't really see any of the money that you have liberated. So it's a scam. Don't do it. So now we've looked at the language they use and the scam investments they're selling. You may be asking yourself, how are they successful? Well, they're very persistent. So you should always be skeptical of anyone contacting you out of the blue, either through a cold call or through emails or text messages. Walk away from anyone who pressures you into making a quick decision on pension savings and investments, and ignore people who are repeatedly calling you to pester you. Again, I can't stress enough, but if it seems too good to be true, then it is too good to be true. Therefore, it's a scam. So in the United Kingdom, any firm involved in delivering savings and investment products or financial advice must be registered with the regulatory body. And that's either the Financial Conduct Authority, or FCA, as we sometimes shorten it to, or the Prudential Regulation Authority. All authorised companies are recorded on the FCA's register. And following regulatory changes at the beginning of the year, individual advisors are no longer required to be recorded on the FCA's register. So I'm not directly recorded on there. I'm on there under Mattioli Woods, and I've got my own separate listing on there, so you can check I'm a real financial advisor if you want to on there. However, if an individual claims to work for or be acting on behalf of a registered firm, that firm will be able to confirm whether or not this is the case. Firms should be contacted using details provided in the register for confirmation. Not only that, but firms that are providing products or services without the correct authorization or deliberately running scams are also included on the register with prominent warnings. So you should easily be able to check if you or anybody you know is being targeted by fraudsters. And other information on the register of unauthorized firms includes different details they give out on whether they're falsely claiming to be from a genuine authorized firm. And unfortunately, at some networking groups, I've come across financial advisors, or they don't call themselves financial advisors, they call themselves financial consultants usually, that are purporting to give financial advice, and they're not registered, authorized or anything. And I have flagged a couple of them for doing this, but they are out there and people do buy into what they're saying. So yeah, just be wary, really. Just by checking the register, that's a key thing to do, because we should all be on there. And if you've ever got any questions, so just ring the firm or speak to a professional, or go to one of these websites, which I'm going to show you in a moment. Other great sources of information are the Financial Conduct Authority Scam Smart web pages, which include useful things to watch out for. And if you do want to report a crime, and the Pensions Regulator website, which also has information on how to avoid scams and useful information on protecting yourself. But what happens if you're too late and you've picked up on a scam after you've sent the money? Let's take a look at what the next steps are for you. So generally, there are some safeguards in place, but you may not get back any or all of your money. If you pay for a scam by your credit card, then you've got greater protection there under Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act. Quite simply, if you used a credit card to pay for goods that never existed or services that were never delivered, then you can make a claim to your credit card provider to investigate and reimburse you. It's worth noting that the cover offered is between £100,000 and £30,000 for any single claim there. So you don't have to have purchased all of it on a credit card as well. So for like holiday companies that have gone out of business, I've heard of people that have maybe paid the deposit for holiday and then the rest of it paid from the bank account and they've struggled to get it back. The credit card company can refund the full amount if they choose to. So it's worthwhile looking at. And if you pay for a scam using your debit card, you may be able to ask your bank to investigate, and they can reimburse you via their chargeback scheme. And whilst that only covers transactions up to £100, it is a voluntary code which participating banks subscribe to. So it's important to speak with your bank at the earliest opportunity. They can then do two different things. Firstly, make sure no more money is taken, because if the scammers have your details, they will undoubtedly try to make more money. And secondly, investigate the crime and investigate where possible, offer compensation. However, you may not get your money back by that route. PayPal is used in a number of different ways by scammers as well. So firstly, if you paid for goods or services which were never materialized and used the authentic PayPal service, then you should be able to seek compensation and gain protection from their services. However, there are a number of cloned or faked PayPal websites which simply seek to take your bank details or process a transaction unlawfully. Unfortunately, if you've been a victim of a fake PayPal site, you aren't protected under their buyer protection scheme, so you may well lose your money. It's also worth noting that if you're selling goods through auctions and the buyer pays and asks for a suspicious delivery address, this again could be a scam, as they may well claim that they never received the goods and will seek compensation, as well as had the goods as well. So again, beware of suspicious requests on them. Just always be suspicious of people. That's how I am. Lastly, if you used a bank transfer or wire transfer to send money, unfortunately, you can't always get your money back. However, there are specific ways which you can deal with the problem. The consumer website, which has a lot of useful information on the letters you should use in these circumstances, as well as speaking with wire transfer providers such as MoneyGram, PayPoint, Western Union, who can all help and investigate the situation. And it is a difficult time, and we're not out of COVID. It's still in the news all the time. But if you are a victim of financial crime, and you don't need to worry about it. There's lots of support out there, and here you can see a couple of the charities there who help people who've been a victim of financial scams and frauds, and they can also help with advice and practical help. So if you're thinking about taking your money management more seriously or need help after this webinar, so then there are a number of really useful ways, websites which can help you. Just to highlight a few of these websites on the list, the moneysavingexpert.com website is packed with consumer information, and that's one I still use now. I've used it for years when I was in the banking world. I still use it now when I'm sort of guiding people. And it's really helpful when looking for a good deal on many day-to-day financial decisions. So we're all looking for ethical solutions, bank accounts and stuff, but there's lots of different offers on current account switching at the minute. Some of them not so ethical as others, but if you want to switch your bank account, there's lots of cash back on offer at different banks at the moment. So go and have a look at that. And you may know it is Martin Lewis's website, the Money Savings Expert, and it's always up to date and very relevant to your money decisions. And as I said, I've just used it on switching my current account, Mr. Bargain Lover here, and done my very best impression of Martin Lewis today. Probably not quite there's not been as many swooshes and whatever as he does on his show, but hopefully I've done a good enough job. There's also the Money Helper website as well. So that was formerly the Money Advice Service, Money Service, and it was Money and Pensions Advice Service, but they've relaunched as the Money Helper website now. And that's for sort of larger financial decisions, from mortgages to debt advice. And it's got some very accurate and detailed information for some of our larger financial commitments. And is really very helpful for wider understanding of a particular topic or consumer issue. And often when people come to me and they're perhaps not at a stage where they need my advice yet, I'll refer them to the Money Helper, because there's some stuff you can do yourself without having to pay for someone like myself to do it for you. You can do a lot of stuff yourself. Other websites are available. There are also some really useful budgeted apps to help you manage your money, such as Mint and YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget. And if you find yourself in serious financial difficulties, here we can see most of the charities that offer help specifically with money worries and debt. It's always a good idea to go to a charity or a third party organisation rather than a commercial organisation who will obviously be charging commissions for their fees or work, because usually the charities won't charge for anything. And the financial services industry and government really do wish to treat customers fairly and with compassion, to try and find a solution to any issue that a person has. If it's debt, there are charities and citizens advice with multiple solutions. If it's income, then your employer, if you've got one, or your local council can help. If it's savings and investments, then advisors and your bank can help. And if you just want to put your hand up, you'll find help is there. So having good financial well-being takes time and effort to make things better for ourselves. Taking time to manage the money in and money out and starting the savings journey will help greatly with our financial security. Seeking help is essential. We all need a helping hand from time to time. And please remember that there are always solutions to your financial difficulties as well. So that's me. I think for having, I think I'd sign off with, I mean, if it takes time to do these things, and to list your outgoings and starting the savings journey will help with getting there. But if you want any help, then I'm always here, sort of happy to answer any questions. Please do get in touch. I've put my details in the chat. Start by taking control and having more of an interest in where your money goes. I think it's probably the best thing to say. List where your debts are, if you've got any, and tackle them from the most expensive first. Speak to your lenders. Just remember, there's always a solution to your financial problems. Okay, and that's me. Brilliant. So if anybody's got any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Matt. That was excellent, very informative, loads of stuff in there. I from a financial background, and I was going like my brain's quite full, so thank you, lots of value. I don't know if anyone wants to raise any questions. Sorry, I'm just trying to stall while I get the gallery view open. But bearing in mind that obviously we are still recording, I will stop the recording in a minute in case anyone wants to ask a question but doesn't want it recorded, given the topic. But any questions? Anyone is happy to go on the record and ask? No.
And as you said there, Mark, okay. It goes without saying that if anybody has got any questions and they want to raise it offline, then just feel free to get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, you waved at me.
Yeah, I was just going to say, great presentation, Matt, and really, really good little bite-sized chunks everyone can take away. I've written something down. I know you mentioned about the budget planning side of things. It's quite hard to word, but I think it's Warren Buffett who's like a top stock person, billionaire many times over. He says, and it's really down to the mindset of budgeting. So he says, don't save what you have after spending, spend what you have after saving. And I think that really resonated with me. And that's what I try and do with clients, is try and switch their brain round in terms of doing things from that way. But yeah, really good presentation, Matt.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
I really agree with Jay here. And in fact, I wanted to ask Matt, like, what percentage of income you would like to dedicate for savings or investments?
It's difficult, really. It's a personal choice for each person. It's, as I said in the presentation, I always start with the end goal in mind. So where do you want to get to? And then you build it from there. So you've got to look at what there's obviously fixed outgoings everybody's going to have. So there's not sort of one size fits all. Not everybody could say, when I said save 10-20% of my income, it might not be possible. You might be living more frugally than that, but there's usually always room to do stuff and adjust what you're spending money on, and prioritize things, really. I think we've seen that perhaps we don't need everything we had prior to the pandemic previously. So I think a few businesses are going to find that. I mean, certainly pubs. I've been to a few. I try and support local businesses where I can now. Where I'm going out doing business, rather than going to somebody's office, I'll go for a coffee or go for a drink somewhere. But they're not as busy as they were prior to the pandemic. So I think a lot of people have changed their priorities, and I think that's an important one. It's good for us all to sort of think about where we're spending our money, and if you've got a big thing that you want to save money for, whether it's a house, a holiday, whatever, or your retirement, plan for it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. I've got a question. So I have a property which I rent, and I don't have a pension, because I've always been taught that I will get more money from the property than pension because of the interest. What's your take on investing in pensions or property? Because I'm about to think about what to do next.
Difficult one. I saw Jay do the thing. Yeah, that's a big one we get. Pension. I mean, property historically has done very well, but so have investments. So it's one of those things that as a marriage of the two, I think they're good to have a bit of both, and you should always have diversity and diversification in whatever you're doing. So maybe a bit of both. Pensions in the UK. No, you're not in the UK, Nina.
So it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, so I can't advise you on what it's like where you are, but I know in the UK there's lots of tax incentives to save into a pension, whereas if you've got particularly second properties in the UK, they are taxed quite heavily if you were to sell them or anything like that. So
Yeah, I mean, we will be
there,
returning. We will be returning. What? So, am I not eligible to get to do a UK pension if I'm
be.
like
Yeah,
still?
You should be.
I mean, I do self-employed tax for the UK,
Yeah.
so I pay my UK tax and I have UK bank account.
Yeah, so you should be. It'd be a bit more complex probably than you'd have to be like sort of residency and domicile so stuff you'd have to run through. But yeah, you should still be able to do something, especially if you're going to be located in the UK when you do retire. You should be fine.
And so when you say investments, you're talking about pension, you're not talking about anything else?
Just everything in general. So pensions, investments, there's lots of different types of investment. You've got ISAs you can have in the UK, lots of other tax efficient savings models, but pension is probably the biggie for if you when you think retirement, pension is usually the first thing people think of. And obviously I can't say what's going to happen in the future because we've got a budget this week on Wednesday, so things could change drastically on Wednesday, but as of today, yeah, I mean that is the best sort of tax efficient savings model for retirement at the minute, I would say.
Okay, I may be coming to you soon because I don't know whether to buy another property or to do that. All right, thanks.
Happy to help.
It was fantastic. Cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you. Jess has just asked in the chat, and this is maybe one that Jay may have some views on as well coming in, but anything new in the money world that is exciting / worrying? Crypto,
I've just seen the C word. Yeah, crypto's the C word. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a few views on that as well, but carry on.
Yeah, it can be great if you want to. But if we just say it's not regulated, it's not a regulated area. At Matthew Lodge, we don't have any involvement with crypto in any of our portfolios or anything that we get involved with. There are investment houses out there that do use it. I said in my presentation last time, we talked about the efficacy issues of some of the cryptos and the mining and the use of how much electricity it costs to do the mining. So that's a different thing altogether. But it's a tough one because there is potential there, but it's the same with anything. There's potential, but what are the risks involved in it? I would never tell anybody to put all of their money in it. If you've got a little bit, you want to have a dabble with on the side of something, it's up to you, but it shouldn't be a replacement for solid planning and investing into sort of proper mainstream investments.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And my experience, I mean, all I'm going to say is when I worked in a bank, we were banned in our contracts from dealing with any crypto personally. So that probably should tell you all you need to know, right? You're gambling. You're basically gambling.
It's gambling. Yeah, it is.
Wait, Mark, you were banned from dealing with crypto personally?
Yes.
That shouldn't be allowed. That's like when I had a job in a corporate thing that said I couldn't do any other work. I feel like you shouldn't be allowed to tell people what they can do in their personal life. That's just my 2 cents.
It was after the umpteenth member of staff that got themselves into financial difficulties, and it's a regulated industry, so can't have that.
But they get what? Okay, whatever.
Gambled their salary away.
Well, isn't that your choice? Can't you gamble your salary away?
Not so much if you're in financial services.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure, like, I don't think Matt would be employed too long if he.
No, Jay will know. We have to do like responsible. We have to guarantee sort of every year. We have to do sort of tests and make sure that we are responsible and things like that. If you have gambled your money away, you can't be an appointed representative of a firm, or you can't be on the list on the FCA register if you've got problems, financial problems in the background, and they do credit checks and stuff on you as well. So
oh wow.
Yeah.
Can you drink it away? Is there any sins that
you can drink it away? I do that.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, fine. That's funny. You also get sacked from the army in the US if you have financial problems, says Suan. That's very strange.
I never knew someone had been in the US Army, but there we go. I feel we're going down a rabbit hole here. We should stop. Anyone got any other questions while we're still recording? Or shall we stop the recording? Okay, right. Thank you very much for that, Matt. That was absolutely excellent. If I